Hi, this is Andrew Twidwell. Once again with the show You Got This. It's a show of DIY do's and don'ts, and I had a little bit of stumble there because it's been a couple weeks since we've done this. So, like we were just talking off air, like, do we remember how to do this show? So yeah, I was on a trip, and so we aired a couple. We aired only one rerun.
Yeah,
one rerun, and we pre-recorded a couple other shows, so we managed to make sure that we were on the air as much as possible. But yeah, I was off in lovely Oregon, and oh yeah, I forgot to introduce because it's been a while. Rosalie Brown is my co-host. She's in LA. I'm in Auburn right now, and yeah,
and you own a company. You own a company called what?
I own this thing they call ABT Plumbing, Electric, Heat and Air, that happens to kind of have my initials on it. And yeah, it's been an interesting reentry into work life because yeah, when you're gone, things get a little wonky sometimes. But yeah, I love everybody here, but oh my gosh, people are hard. I won't say anything more. Anyway, so I took a little trip up to Oregon, took the trailer up to Oregon with my wife, my lovely wife, and met some friends up there who were on they're both retired and they were on a 2-month trip. They went all the way up to Canada, and we met them in Bandon, Oregon, which was lovely. We managed to get there in perfect weather. It was like 65 and sunny on the coast in Oregon. So that was wonderful. Did some bike riding there and then headed off to Sisters near Bend and hung out there and did some bike riding and hiking. Hiked Smith Rock. I'd never been to Smith Rock. That is off the hook. If you're ever in Bend, that place is amazing. It does not feel like you're in Oregon. It feels like you're in Southern Oregon. It feels like you're in Southern Utah. It is the rock formations and this green river running through it. It's just amazing. And then we went to Crater Lake and hung out up there. And Crater Lake, the national park, closes the road twice a year for cyclists. And we rode around Crater Lake, which was gorgeous, but really hard because I think we did 3,000 feet of elevation gain in 26 miles. So it's pretty much up or down, and got pretty fast, got up to 45 miles an hour. And then my wife's like, Betty's like, you really shouldn't be riding that fast at this point in our life because all it's going to take is one bump and you could be a road rash. And I'm like, yeah. So more recently I've kind of slowed down again because I started having visions of myself, either relearning the alphabet or simply having road rash. One of those two, or at 56, there is that possibility of dying too. So
I want to hit the pause recall button because if you go on the time machine, was this in St. Paul that we jumped a curb wrong, or was that in San Francisco?
That was in St. Paul. That was a while ago, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I recall that, and then I recall you being messed up.
Yeah, that was a broken
what you
rib
thought.
And broken shoulder blade. Yeah, that was a bad one. That was the worst accident I've had. That was the worst accident I had in a long time, decades. And that was one of those situations where, I had a flat tire. I didn't realize that the tire was flat, and when I landed, it just
I remember that
almost rolled off the rim, and it was like hitting ice. It just went down, and looking back on it, I remember seeing myself fall, and it's amazing how slower your reaction time gets the older you get. Because I know 20 years ago, I remember having an accident where I almost ran into somebody on Market Street in San Francisco. They went through a red light and I went through a yellow, and I literally jumped off my bike and grabbed the hold of them and gave them a bear hug. I don't know how I did it, but I was 20, right? And I can't imagine being able to do that at 56. It's just, my body doesn't work like that anymore. It's
physics change. Yeah. Physics change. The older you get, more physics change.
Slower reaction time, and oh my gosh, yeah. So there is that there's that possibility, accidents happen, but I don't want to die.
So on a very this is talking about how the older you get, the more you're almost envisioning where am I going to fall, where am I going to land. So related story, but not sports related. So I'm going to a wedding in actually up in your neck of the woods in a few weeks, which is why I'll be with you for that one event.
Right.
So got all the really fancy pants stuff. So the shoes came in the yesterday, and I have all wood floors, and I didn't realize, like, I didn't spin out, but
Right.
I
They're
had
brand
to
new shoes on hardwood floors.
well, they're brand new. But what I didn't realize is I didn't realize how high the heel was, and so
Right.
the way that it forces your body to. So the first thing that came through within a step or two was, I don't have the calves to hold up my body, and the second was, I was like, what? Where? Okay, so which way am I going to fall when this happens? Like,
right.
At the event, I'm thinking, yeah, these would be great for pictures, but at the event, like I'm gonna be in bubble wrap. So I immediately was like, these are such cool shoes, and I sent them to my daughter, who's much younger. She's my older daughter, and she was like, "Mom." I was like, okay, all right, that's enough. I got it. That was enough. So I got online, and I have a backup pair of shoes.
Mom, you're going to break your hip.
Those are not the shoes of a middle-aged woman, mother. So I was like, oh, okay, that you're probably right. So, so my ego was deflated
Right.
in a different way, but safety concerns are very different now than they were
right
10 years ago. Yeah.
And you actually think about it, whereas 10, 20 years ago, it wasn't even really a consideration. I didn't really think about dying or something, on my bike or something. But now it's like it's ever present.
I mean, at least you would die doing something cool. I die because I go to a friend's wedding and I got the wrong shoes. I mean, that's not great. So I have backup shoes.
And there might be some champagne. So you don't want to risk that. Yeah.
And with social media, I'll be in the wedding video tumbling to my demise. So backup shoes are coming, but I feel getting older.
But you can always wear them for the pictures and swap them out like the bride does, right?
Right. That's what I said. I'm like, all right, I'm going to stash these in the trunk, when I'm done with them. So, but anyway, so that's, your concern is safety because of sports. Mine is safety because of fashion, which anyone who knows me knows how hilarious that is just in general. As I sit here in a flannel t-shirt and a tank top, fashion is going to kill me. That's the irony of this whole thing. So, hey, since you're a plumber, I was wondering if you want to talk about plumbing for our plumbing show.
So we got, you pulled together another show. We're going to talk about basic plumbing repairs. I know we go over this stuff quite a bit, but hey, it's
plumbing
stuff
happens.
That's relevant and it happens. And I own a plumbing, electrical, heating intercompany, and I'll be honest, the majority of calls that we get are emergency calls that we get are plumbing related. So that is usually what breaks more often in somebody's home than the electrical, way more than the electrical, and way more than the HVAC system. So, the idea behind these shows is to kind of empower our audience to at least attempt, if not solve some of these plumbing issues, because you can save a substantial amount of money. And also, it's kind of cool that you can actually fix something. There's a certain satisfaction when you can go in to something and you got a start, middle, and end, and it's actually done, right? So, when you're looking at plumbing repairs, we've had some pretty major inflation recently. So things are not getting cheaper. Our labor is not getting cheaper. Our material is, gotten astronomical. The vehicles that we drive have gone up more than 50% to replace the vehicles. Our fuel costs are so expensive. So it costs a lot of money for us to come out and work on people's homes. So if there are some things that you guys can take care of as homeowners, hopefully, you can at least dive into it and see about taking care of it. Most large repair bills, I'm just reading this article, could be like $500 to $800, even more. I mean, a lot of things can be over $1,000 these days. But you can do some of this. You can do some of these things yourself for a fraction of that. You're probably talking about $100 in material sometimes, or even less, depending on what it is. So a couple things that you're going to want to start off with, though. So, like anything, not like anything, but when it comes to any trade any kind of home trade. It's a lot of, it's about the knowledge, but it's also about the tools. Having the right tool will make the difference. So initially you're going to want to invest in some good tools. And I'm not saying go out and buy, top of the line Milwaukee tools or Milwaukee cordless set and really expensive channel locks and all this stuff. I mean, you don't need to. I just got some German channel locks that are amazing, but I got them because I like tools. But you don't necessarily need to do that. You can just get the store bought ones or the store manufactured ones at B&C, Hills Flat, any of the big box stores, and they'll work. So some of the things that you're going to want to get are adjustable wrenches, aka channel locks. Are the ones that you can change the size. You're also going to want a crescent wrench. And crescent wrenches, I haven't found a huge difference between the cheap ones and the better ones. Channel locks I definitely have, but you can get away with some of the Craftsman and some of even the cheaper ones. A good screwdriver. So I've got, I don't know, I carry two screwdrivers in my truck. I've got one in each drawer in the house, in the kitchen. Each floor of the house. They're relatively inexpensive. Get a good 6-in-1 screwdriver. So it's going to have Phillips head, big and small, standard head, big and small, 5/16 nut driver, and a 1/4-inch nut driver on those things. So you can do a lot with that one tool, and they're like $6. So I literally have them in different floors because they're just so inexpensive. And there's something that's kind of one of those things that when it's easily found and you've got it, you can take care of something really quick. And you don't have to go looking for it. So buy a couple of them. Good pair of pliers. Yeah, I use pliers every once in a while, but your channel locks are going to do the majority of it. I like to have a large set of channel locks and a small set of channel locks. So the big ones are going to be for like fixing a bathroom sink, working on a faucet. The small ones are going to be working on the supply lines or any kind of small nut or anything like that, working on toilets. So a big and small pair of channel locks are great. Plungers, and they actually say this, plungers, one for the toilet and one for the sink. I think you only need one, but that's just me. So, and when you're looking at plungers, the one for the toilet, you want to get the one that has the, it's kind of got this extra flute inside of it, so that it really gets inside the bottom of the trap, the bottom of the hole, and it really makes a good seal. Expect to spend $20 or something on that. The one for the sink, all you need is a C cup. You don't need anything special. It doesn't need any of the fluted thing. It's just a regular force cup will be fine. And those you can pick up at the dollar store for $5 or whatever. Plumber's tape. So Teflon tape, really handy to have. Electrical tape's another handy thing to have around. Pipe dope's another really handy thing to have around. All those things are relatively inexpensive. The utility knife, get a good quality utility knife. You want really sharp utility knife. Ironically, the dull ones are the ones we typically get more hurt on than the sharp ones because we'll try to cut things and it doesn't work. And you end up cutting yourself more often. It's weird. I don't understand why, but I've cut myself way fewer times with a sharp blade, than I have with a dull blade. So get a good utility knife. And then they suggest a caulking gun. Yeah, I mean, you should have a caulking gun in your house. They're cheap, under $10. I prefer for plumbing, I prefer just buying the tubes that I don't have to use a caulking gun. They're smaller, a little easier to deal with, easier to get into tight spaces, and you don't need a gun for it. So, once you've accumulated these tools, it's going to make your job a lot easier. And I would add one other thing is a zip it for clearing the drains. So just this little plastic thing with the little teeth, like a saw, like a sawfish, looks like a sawfish. It's just got these little things coming out. That tool is amazing, and they're like $5. So a leaky faucet, a leaky faucet can be annoying and it can be dripping for quite a while, and it could be wasteful. It's one of these things that I have a really hard time with, though, because I want to save water, but water's really cheap. So if you've got a really small leak that drips every 10 or 20 seconds, I've lived with it. I've actually got a faucet in my house right now that drips like maybe every 30 seconds. It's got a little drip. I'm not doing anything about it. It's not a big deal. it's not wasting that much water. You're probably, probably talking about a gallon a day or something like that. But water's really inexpensive compared to having somebody fix it.
Can I just hit the pause for 1 second and talk about the irony? Because I know if anyone is listening, they're like, okay, so the plumber is saying, I don't really deal with like leaks that are just a tiny nuisance. I wait until there's a lot of water flowing, and then I get concerned.
But I've literally had customers call me to fix a drippy faucet that, was dripping every 30 seconds. And, it's going to cost them a couple $100 for me to do that. You're not going to spend that in 5 years in your water bill,
Let me ask you a question then. Let me ask you a question then. Okay. So here's where my brain goes. So if you're talking about something medical or HVAC or electrical, a lot of the times, if you have a small problem now, a lot of times if you ignore it, right, it leads to something bigger. So my question is, but what you're saying is, in this case, just because you have a nuisance leak doesn't necessarily imply there's some big, huge problem that's on the way. Is that right?
It could potentially become a bigger problem depending on the faucet. Like if you've got
and depending what the cause of the leak is.
Right. If you've got a rubber washer inside of it, which we haven't used in 30 years, that can escalate really quickly. If you've got a ceramic disc cartridge faucet, it could be like that for a decade. Because it's literally just two pieces of ceramic that move across each other. And for some reason, it's got a little scratch or something in there because a piece of grit got through it. It's really unlikely that's going to increase. So yes, so it's a yes or no answer. Yes, it could potentially turn into a bigger issue. Is it likely to turn into a bigger issue? Maybe. But it may also, you may be selling your house before it even becomes a bigger issue. So should you take care of a leaky faucet? Yeah, they're annoying. They're wasting water. Would I try it if it was myself? Yeah, if it's annoying enough, like this one faucet inside of our house, it's like, my wife hasn't complained about it, so I haven't done anything about it. But it can be pretty simple. One of the things with faucets these days is it's not a matter of replacing the washer any longer. You replace the cartridge. So what you're going to want to do is, if you've got a faucet that's dripping and it's a real nuisance one, pull the handle off. That can be a trick sometimes. Find the faucets that you have online and figure out how to take the handle off, because some of them you push and pull. Some have screws, some have Allen wrenches, Allen screws, some have screws through the handle. There's all sorts of different types of handles out there these days. Find out how to take the handle off, pull the cartridge after turning the water off. You got to turn the water off underneath the sink. Take said cartridge to the hardware store, both of them hot and cold, and replace the cartridge. And you're going to have a brand new faucet, essentially. So it's relatively simple. But cartridges can be expensive. Some of them right now are like $40 per cartridge. So you can be spending $80 on cartridges for an old faucet. I would say, with a drippy faucet, you may also think about maybe just replacing it. If it's something that you kind of don't like anyway, just put a new faucet in. A new faucet is going to cost you a couple $100. And if you do it yourself, it's really just a couple $100. And you have a brand new faucet where to repair it, it could cost you close to $100 in parts. So now you got a brand new one that's going to be good for another 10 years and probably an aesthetic that you like more. It's weird. We don't fix a lot of faucets anymore. We replace a lot more than we used to, just because of the prices of equipment and prices of labor and stuff. Installing a brand new faucet can be, seemingly a big issue. I find replacing a faucet easier than fixing faucets sometimes because of handles. Some of the handles can be, I've had faucets where I couldn't figure it out. The manufacturers they're so across the board on how they attach the handles to the faucet. Literally, I have some that snap on and you got to physically get up on top of the deck and pull them off with your bare hands, because you can't use a wrench because you're going to scratch it. I've got others that have these hidden Allen screw that's behind the faucet. You can barely see the hole. I've had some where there's a cap that you got to pry off, some that you got to screw off. There's just all these types of different things that go on with handles. So yeah, sometimes it's easier to replace the whole faucet. and you get a new faucet. And like I said, if it's something that's kind of, you don't really like the look of it because it's polished brass, although polished brass is coming back. Maybe it's gold or black. I remember putting in black faucets and red faucets and white faucets back in the 80s.
See, now I would actually think a red or black faucet now that would totally match my aesthetic, my existential crisis. Yeah. Like it would be perfect.
Things are coming back. Like even, polished brass is coming back. They're calling it gold, or they have brushed gold now too, which is, kind of like the oil rub bronze, but with a gold. I will tell you right now, though, the number one fixture that I would install in my house, and I still do it any kind of remodel I do, I just put a chrome faucet in. Chrome has never gone out of style and has never looked funky, and it holds up way better than any of the finishes, whether it's an epoxy finish or a polished brass. The polished brass has like an enamel on it or an epoxy on it. Once that gets chipped or scratched, then it starts to discolor. Even like the brushed stainless steel sometimes some of the cheaper ones will have a coating on it that comes off and it starts to flake off. Chrome, I've literally seen faucets that were installed at the turn of the century that still look good. Over 100 years old and they still look great if they're chrome. Wow, we're running out of time. I just stuck with that. So getting the tools. Clogged or slow drains. This is something you guys can really take care of yourself. So what should they start with, Rosalie? Your favorite.
What was the
mixture?
question?
Clogged sinks, clogged showers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my
tubs.
Gosh. Sorry. I was taking notes on your fascinating plumbing speech here. Sorry. So
sure you were.
No, I was. I'll show you later.
Oh.
No, my very favorite is actually baking soda and a little bit of vinegar. And then you use a little bit of hot water. And there, you could Google that and you'll see 70,000 million results come up. It's so simple, really eats through. It also tends to tamp down any mystery smells that you might have. The vinegar, I think, and the baking soda really help with that. That's the first line of defense for me every time. Yeah.
And it's surprising how well that works. So if you've got a slow drain, that's the first thing I would do. You don't want to use any drain cleaning products.
No.
They say they're safe for plumbing, but wear safety glasses and wear gloves. So right there, is it really safe? Some are base on the alkaline scale and some are acidic. They're scary. I mean, I can't tell you how many plumbers I've talked to online that have almost lost their eyes because of said drain cleaning products. So they're really dangerous. I just try to avoid them if at all possible. So, we don't use them in our industry at all. I don't use them in my house. I actually don't even use the baking soda one just because I got a mechanical snake. But that one's a nice, easy one where you don't have to get any tools at and you don't have to get goopy. You don't have to get gross. Because I know a lot of people have a problem with like using the Zip It. And I'm going to say that the Zip It tool works really great for your sink and your shower. But it is nasty because you're pulling that stuff out and it looks gross. My sister just did it for her house and she shared it with my wife and I. And my wife's like, "Why'd you have to share that with me? It's gross." Doesn't bother me.
So if you can't tackle your plumbing, electrical, or heating and air issue on your own, is there someone that they could call? Maybe
you can call us and you can reach us at 530-230-9092. That number again, 530-230-9092. You can also find us on the web at abtplumbing.com. Like our Facebook page. We've got a bunch of this stuff online. We've also got some crazy deals going on right now. We've got a $49 HVAC tune-up. We're getting into that heating season. I just turned my furnace on this morning. We've got a $49 whole house electrical inspection. We've got a $49 water heater flush and safety inspection. And we also have a $97 drain cleaning. So if the baking soda doesn't work for you, the baking soda and vinegar doesn't work for you, give us a call. It's only $97. We'll come out and clear it. If we don't clear it, it's free. Again, 530-230-9092. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you guys next week. Bye.